I always believe that the worst kind of pain doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people you trust the most. People who are close enough to break you from the inside out. I never thought that person would be my sister. And I never imagined it would happen on my wedding night. But it did. My own blood, with my new husband. Let me take you back. Our wedding was everything I had dreamed of since I was a little girl. White roses. Candlelight. My mom crying as I walked down the aisle. My heart pounding as James stood there in his tux, smiling like I was the only woman on earth. I thought he meant every word of his vows. I really did. And when we kissed, everyone clapped, and I felt like I was stepping into a fairy tale. My sister, Anna, was my maid of honor. She was glowing too, constantly saying things like, "You're the luckiest girl ever," and "He's the one, I can feel it." She hugged me tighter than usual and looked into my eyes with a strange kind of smile. I thought it was just emotion. I thought she was happy for me. But that night, something felt off. After the reception, when most guests were either gone or passed out from too much champagne, James started acting strange. He said he was going to check on some guests, then disappeared for nearly 45 minutes. I texted him. No reply. When he came back, he said his phone died and he was helping someone get to their room. I brushed it off. It was our wedding night. I didn't want to ruin anything. Anna also disappeared for a while. I found her sitting outside on a bench behind the venue. She was crying. I walked up to her and asked, "Hey, what's going on?" She wiped her eyes fast and forced a smile. "I'm just so happy for you," she said. "It's all hitting me. You're not just my sister anymore. You're someone's wife. It's beautiful, but it hurts a little too." I thought she was being emotional. I thought it was normal. Sisters get sentimental, right? But I had no idea the kind of hurt she was really feeling or causing. Later that night, around 1 a.m., I was waiting in the honeymoon suite, in my dress, still glowing with excitement. James wasn't back yet. I figured he was saying goodbye to his groomsmen. But something didn't sit right. I waited another 20 minutes. Nothing. I decided to go look for him. I walked through the hallway, barefoot, still in my gown. Everything was quiet. Until I heard voices. A low laugh. A familiar male voice. And then a woman's voice. Laughing, whispering. Soft. Secretive. It was coming from room 118. 2 doors down. I walked closer. My heart was pounding now. I told myself it couldn't be what I thought. I told myself to stop being paranoid. But something inside me screamed. I stood at the door listening. Then I knocked. Silence. I waited. And then I turned the knob. The door wasn't locked. I opened it, slowly. And what I saw broke something inside of me I can't even explain. There, tangled in white sheets, were the 2 people I trusted most in the entire world. My husband. And my sister. Half-dressed. Startled. Frozen like 2 deer caught in headlights. James tried to speak first. He stuttered. "Wait, this isn't." Anna was holding the sheet to her chest, face pale, eyes wide. She whispered, "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Because what else could it possibly be? She was in bed with my husband. On my wedding night. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned around and walked out. Back to my suite. Back to that stupid room full of rose petals and empty promises. I sat on the edge of the bed. Still in my dress. I didn't even take it off. I just stared at the floor. For hours. By morning, everyone knew something had happened. My mom was panicking. My bridesmaids looked confused. James avoided me. Anna was nowhere to be found. She had checked out before sunrise. People asked questions. I said nothing. I canceled our honeymoon. Told the photographer not to send the pictures. I packed away the dress and returned the gifts. A week went by before Anna reached out. She showed up at my apartment, uninvited, crying, begging me to talk to her. I made a mistake, she kept saying. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. Please believe me. She said it only happened once. A few weeks before the wedding. That James told her he was scared. That he had doubts. That one thing led to another. She tried to say it didn't mean anything. But it meant everything to me. She wasn't just any woman. She was my sister. And James, he wasn't just my partner. He was the man I was going to build a life with. I slammed the door in her face. I haven't spoken to her since. James tried to reach out too. Text after text. Voicemails. All blaming stress. All trying to push the blame on Anna. He said he regretted it. That he loved me. That it was a weak moment. But how do you explain that kind of betrayal? I replayed every moment in my mind. Every conversation. Every time I asked if something was wrong and they said no. And the more I remembered, the more I realized the signs were there. The long stares. The too long hugs. The late night texts she used to giggle at and say, just work stuff. It wasn't work. It was him. And now I wonder, was the wedding even real to him? Or just a cover? It's been over a year since that night. I've moved out. Found a new place. Started therapy. Talked to new people. Tried to rebuild my trust. But the truth is, I still carry the weight of it. The way it shattered everything I believed about love, loyalty, and family. There's a special kind of pain that comes when betrayal wears a familiar face. And no matter how much time passes, part of me will always feel that sting. Sometimes I look at wedding photos from other couples and feel nothing but envy. Not because they're perfect, but because they still believe in the dream. I used to believe too. Now I believe in something else. I believe that pain can teach. That betrayal, as cruel as it is, can reveal what was never real in the first place. And I believe in survival. Because I survived. I used to think healing meant going back to who I was before. Before the betrayal. Before my wedding night turned into a nightmare. Before I saw the man I loved and the sister I trusted in a bed that should have been mine. But healing isn't about going backward. It's about becoming someone new. Someone wiser. Someone stronger. Someone who doesn't need others to choose her because she finally chooses herself. That realization didn't come overnight. I had days where I couldn't get out of bed. Days where I'd scroll through old messages from James, rereading his promises. Days where I would see Anna's name pop up in old family group chats and feel my stomach twist in knots. There were moments where the silence in my apartment felt louder than any scream. Moments where I'd hear a song from the wedding playlist and burst into tears at the grocery store. Moments where I hated myself for still loving them, even after everything. Because love doesn't turn off like a switch. Even when it's poisoned. Even when it's wrong. Even when it hurts. And the cruelest part? No one prepares you for that part of betrayal. Everyone says, just leave or move on. But no one talks about how your mind replays every happy moment and asks if any of it was ever real. I started seeing a therapist. And in one session, she asked me something that changed everything. She said, what if the pain you're feeling isn't a punishment? What if it's a doorway? At first, I didn't understand. But slowly, I realized. That pain forced me to wake up. To face parts of myself I had abandoned for years. To question why I needed their approval so badly. Why I tolerated red flags just to keep the fairy tale alive. I started setting boundaries. Not just with them, but with everyone. Even my mother, who kept trying to convince me to forgive and bring the family back together. I had to tell her the truth. There's no family where loyalty is optional. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to be the black sheep. To say no. To choose peace over tradition. I stopped answering questions from nosy relatives. I stopped defending my decision to cut them out. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Because survival doesn't need to be polite. I focused on rebuilding myself. Started reading again. Volunteered at a women's shelter. Began working out, not to look better, but to feel stronger. And little by little, the weight on my chest started to lift. I met women with stories like mine. Stories worse than mine. And through their voices, I found my own again. That's what inspired me to create this channel. Because I knew there were thousands of people out there, just like me, who never got to tell their side. Whose stories were buried under shame. Whose pain was dismissed because it's just drama or it's family. But this isn't drama. This is real. This is betrayal, survival, rebirth. And when I finally looked in the mirror and didn't see brokenness anymore, I smiled because I knew I had become someone new, someone unshakable, someone who would never beg for love again. So, if you're watching this and your heart is shattered, if you feel like no one could ever understand, let me be the one to say it. I do understand. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not weak for feeling what you feel. You are allowed to cry, to scream, to break plates, to block numbers, to start over. And most importantly, you are allowed to heal at your own pace. Because healing isn't linear. It's messy. It's slow. It's sacred. But it does happen. And one day, you'll wake up. And you won't think about them first thing in the morning. You won't replay the betrayal in your mind. You won't feel that ache every time you hear their name. One day, it will all just pass. Not because you forgot, but because you finally forgave yourself. Forgave yourself for trusting, for believing, for loving with your whole heart. That's not weakness. That's who you are. And the world needs more people like that. You know what nobody talks about? The loneliness after betrayal. Not just the silence in the room, but the silence inside you. It's like your voice disappears. You stop speaking your truth because you feel stupid, ashamed, like you should have seen it coming. I remember standing in the shower days after it happened. Hot water pouring down my back, but I still felt cold, like nothing could wash off what had been done to me. No soap strong enough to clean the filth of their betrayal off my skin. I stood there, arms folded, forehead against the tile, and whispered the same question over and over. Why me? Why her? Why that night? Why would someone say I do to me, and then do that to me? My mind became a prison. Every memory of James turned dark. Every hug from Anna felt poisoned. I started doubting my own judgment. How could I not see the truth? Was I so desperate for love that I missed the signs? And that's the part that hurt the most. Not just what they did, but what I let happen. I gave him my heart. I gave her my trust. And they treated both like garbage. You want to know the worst part? There was a moment, just one, when I almost forgave them. I don't like admitting that, but it's true. A month after the wedding disaster, James showed up at my apartment unannounced. He looked like a mess. Unshaved. Hollow eyes. Smelled like whiskey and shame. He begged me to talk. He got down on his knees. He cried. He said, I messed up. I ruined everything. I don't even know who I am anymore without you. And for a second, I wanted to believe him, because my heart still remembered the old James, the one who used to tuck my hair behind my ear and say, you're safe with me. The one who danced with me barefoot in the kitchen. The one who promised me forever. But then I looked into his eyes, and all I saw was fear. Not love. Fear of being alone. Fear of consequences. Fear of losing the comfort I gave him. Not the love. And that's when I realized. He didn't come back for me. He came back for what I represented. Stability. Security. Forgiveness. But not for who I was. For what I gave. And I couldn't do that anymore. So I stood up, walked past him, and closed the door gently behind me. No yelling. No insults. Just peace. Because when you finally see someone's true character, there's nothing left to argue about. And Anna? She tried again, too. Sent a letter. Handwritten. 10 pages long. She said she was sorry. That she hated herself. That she was jealous of me her whole life and never knew how to say it. That James made her feel seen in a way she had never felt before. She called it a mistake. But it wasn't. It was a choice. And that's what so many people don't get. Cheating, betrayal, these things aren't accidents. They're choices, Repeated decisions made in dark corners where truth doesn't live. I burned the letter. Not out of hate, but out of release. Because I was done holding on to words from people who never valued mine. And that night, for the first time in months, I slept. No nightmares. No tossing and turning. Just sleep. Because I was finally safe. Not because someone else made me feel that way, but because I chose it. I chose myself. And that changed everything.